There has been nothing but straight chaos breaking out on college campuses all across America for over the last week now. But even though there's plenty examples of this chaos, there's plenty of videos of the violence and bigotry that is going on. Even though there's so many examples of this, the media and the sheeple are all focused on one little clip. Now, if you're not already, you should be following me over on X or Twitter, because over there I'm able to cover these protests and show you all footage from these protests that I cannot show on YouTube. But I can tell you, after combing through hours upon hours of footage, I have seen so many examples of actual racism. I've seen people barring college students from entering into certain spaces because of their race. I've seen kids who were blocked from going to classes because of their race. I've seen people getting attacked because of their race. We've seen a lot of crazy stuff, but the media is trying to turn a blind eye to that. Never mind the fact that we got people out here calling for the destruction of an entire race. Never mind the fact that we got people out here chanting death to America while absolutely destroying these colleges. The media is all focused on one white kid that made some noises at one of these pro-Palestine protesters. As I reported to you all yesterday, there's been an uprising, a frat bro uprising. At a lot of these college campuses, some of the kids there aren't as woke and crazy as the other kids, and they just want to have a normal college experience. You see, these protesters have been shutting down entire graduations. There's so many kids who have worked hard in college for years who aren't going to have a graduation because of these protests. And a lot of them are getting harassed. It's during a time where there's a lot of big exams and tests. And a lot of these kids are getting fed up with it. So now they're showing up to counter protest. Now, they aren't showing up to show support for Israel. They're showing up to defend America and American values. They're not showing up to defend the money that we're sending to Israel, because I believe most of them, including myself, we all agree that we're tired of America getting involved in foreign wars. I believe along with most of these counter-protesters, are America first. We're worried about protecting American values. And I think these kids, they're tired of these Marxists. They're tired of these commies. They're tired of these socially awkward weirdos causing a ruckus on their campuses. So now they're taking a stand. The frat bros are taking a stand. And the media and everyone else, they absolutely can't stand this, because the media has been preaching anti-whiteness for a long time. And at its core, these pro-Palestine protests, they aren't about Palestine. They aren't about Gaza. Most of these kids out there protesting didn't know what Gaza was 7 months ago. They're out there protesting anti-whiteness. When you hear Zionism and Zionist, really that's just basically a new word for white people. Even though the two have nothing to do with each other, that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing people who hate America. We're seeing a lot of white people with self-hatred that hate themselves. We know the white savior mentality. That's what's going on here. These people are trying to uproot traditional American values. Now, right now, they're claiming to be all about freeing Palestine. Just like 4 years ago, they were all about police brutality. 3 or 4 years from now, they will have a new cause. They will have a new face. But at the end of the day, it's the same operation. Do not let them fool you. I can tell you right now that I agree with a lot of what these protesters are supposedly protesting about. But I'm smart enough and I'm wise enough to know that whatever messages they're preaching aren't really what these protests are about at their core. But anyways, the media has focused on this little clip of these frat bros making some noises at one of these protests. They're trying to spin it as if it's the most racist thing they've ever seen, despite that these protests are in many ways kind of racist, to begin with, because you're protesting against an entire race of people and you get mad because of noises. But, instead of talking about it, I want to show you this quick little clip, and then I'll be right back with more.
Fuck him. You're just a white person. You're a white person. Get up. We don't like white people. Oh. Free Palestine.
What's that?
Now, let's have a rational conversation about what we just saw. Most people are incapable of being rational people in today's day and age, but you can feel free to agree or disagree with anything I'm about to say here. Now, when I see what just happened, I wouldn't do something like that. I wouldn't make those type of noises directed at a black person. I understand why people can interpret this as being racist. But at the same time, when you call this racist, isn't that kind of racist in itself? Because you're trying to draw a connection between black people and monkeys. And maybe that connection wasn't there in this kid's mind. Maybe that's a connection that you're forming in your mind because of your own bigotry. Now, we have to really look at this within the context of what is going on. People are at these colleges, destroying these college campuses. Half of them aren't even attending these colleges. These are random people out of nowhere, mentally ill people who are all coming to these college campuses. They're attracted like a moth to a flame because they know now's their time to cause some chaos, right? So when you have people out here acting like animals, destroying stuff, why would you be surprised when people make animal noises at them? I think there's a huge possibility that regardless of what race this woman was that they're making fun of, that people may have been making animal noises at them because the protesters are acting like animals when they're running around like crazed individuals pretending to be Muslims with hijabs on their head and all this other nonsense. It's getting really weird. But let's say this is racist. Let's say this kid really did want to be racist towards this woman. Is this really the big deal that we should be focused on? When people are getting attacked left and right, when all hell is breaking loose, right? We're going to focus on a couple of noises that some kid made. This entire protest that's going on, you could try to spin it in any way you can. Like I said, I agree with some of what they're protesting about. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of racism involved in these protests against Jewish people. And like I said, like I explained earlier, at its core, it's against white people, really, at least here in America. So with all of the vitriol that's being spread and spewed about certain races of people, isn't it hypocritical for these people to be worried about a few monkey noises? And in the grand scheme of things, when all hell is breaking loose and people are getting their heads cracked with poles and people are taking over entire buildings and blocking people from graduating, blocking people from going to school, literally barring people from certain places on college campuses because of their race, should we really be making a big stink about some oohs and ahs and chants that were made at some fat lady that was obviously trying to stir up a problem with the counter protesters? And let's look at the fat lady that they call Lizzo. Is it really an insult to call a fat woman Lizzo? I mean, Lizzo's famous, and I thought we were all about body positivity here. You know, everyone acts like it's the greatest thing they've ever seen whenever Lizzo pulls out her fat rolls. So when someone calls someone Lizzo, that shouldn't be considered, bad. That should be considered a compliment. Also, this woman doesn't look like she goes to the university. What was it? Mississippi? Ole Miss? I highly doubt this woman that's out there, instigating a problem with the frat bros. I highly doubt that this woman goes to that college. Like, I'm pretty sure she doesn't. I don't know for sure, but when looking at the frat bros and looking at her, I'm pretty sure we can tell who actually attends this college and who's really just here for no reason other than to cause problems. But at the end of the day, I find it kind of funny how sensitive people are about things like this. I mean, we have Asian people in San Francisco, New York, old Asian ladies. They're getting beat up and robbed at alarming rates. No one wants to cry about racism there because the people committing those crimes aren't white. We got little kids getting jumped and getting their heads kicked in public schools all across America. No one wants to claim racism there because the attackers aren't white. We have a lot of problems in this country right now, a lot of problems involving race, or at the very least, there's a lot of problems that people don't want to acknowledge because of the race of the people involved. Meanwhile, we're all going to focus on a 19-year-old kid that went hoo-hoo-ha-ha at some fat lady at a freaking protest where the protesters are literally trying to trash and destroy their college. That's what we're focused on. And that lets you know that racism is still alive. Racism is still alive. But racism isn't living in the hearts and souls of the little college kids who are out here making noises. No, racism is living in the hearts and souls of people who will make a big stink about this while ignoring all of the problems within their own communities. All of the problems within their own communities are totally ignored. Totally ignored. But we'll talk all day and night about some kid who made a couple of noises at a violent protest where the other protesters were literally attacking people, chanting death to America, chanting death to Jews, chanting Lord knows what. It's absolutely insane. But this is where we're at in America. But let me tell you this. Accusing people of being racist and throwing these terms around and applying these labels to people, it doesn't matter anymore. No one cares anymore. Once everything is accused of being racist, nothing is racist. When you used to call someone a racist or talk about racism, it had an impact. It really meant something. But it means absolutely nothing now. It means nothing now. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot of pushback. I think the pendulum is starting to swing. I think people are fed up of all of the woke nonsense. No one cares anymore. Call me a bigot, call me an ist, call me a phobe. No one cares about that stuff anymore. And we don't care because of the hypocrisy, the double standards. Oh, let's call this out while totally ignoring real problems. And in the grand scheme of things, if you think this kid is something that we should be worried about, as opposed to all of the violence that's being committed by other communities, then you are just delusional. But for now, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, but always remember to remain opinionated.